Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another Flames of War book review. So I have been privileged enough to be sent a copy of the Pacific, the long-awaited mid-war book, so 1942 to 1943, covering the forces of Imperial Japan, the US forces and Commonwealth forces in the theatre. So we had this in version 3 but not version 4 yet. So I will be going over the books, looking at the force structures, formation structures, special rules, and unit stats. We'll not be looking at the points, but I will tell you the size of the units that you can have. Originally, I wasn't planning on getting anything from this release, but I am getting pulled to maybe get some of Japanese naval company. So the wallet's going to have to come out, I'm afraid, but hopefully you will enjoy this video and we'll answer some questions. Any other questions you do have, just pop them in the comments and I will give you some details. Of course, I can't go over any points, but you don't have long for the book to come out anyway. So, and I believe this book does have a code in the back which will unlock all the stuff on forces, which of course I think is absolutely brilliant. So let's have a look. But before we start looking at stats and all that, have a look at the link in the description and we'll take you straight through to Firestorm Games. So if you want to pre-order or order this stuff, depending on when you actually watch this video, I suggest you use Firestorm Games. I know at this moment in time they do have pre-orders for the entire range of the Pacific book, so get yours now and avoid disappointment. And remember, there's discount applied on this as well. Firestorm are fast and reliable and have excellent customer service. And usually, if you pre-order your stuff, you will get it day of release. So I suggest you give them a go. And by clicking my link, you'll help support me and the channel. So that's enough about me. Let's get into the book. Okay, so first up we have Japanese forces. So we've kind of got it broken up into two groups. We have army and naval formations. So with the army, you can see here we've got 3 tank formations and an infantry company. And the naval, we have a naval tank company and a naval infantry company. Support-wise, you can have mortars in support, field artillery, plenty of artillery, and we've got spotters as well, 0 fighters in support as well. We do have wild cards. I won't go over them here because they are a bit wild. One of them is a tiger, but we won't cover them because I don't tend to use wild cards. These are more units that kind of in theory could have been used but didn't. But there we go. So they just got to mention at this point here, and then all the other factions in this book have options for wildcards. I don't have access to the command cards, so I'm sure there'll be some very interesting and good ones coming out as well. Again, we can only speculate on these, but this is the force structure for the Japanese. Okay, so special rule time. Probably the big one is Banzai. So basically, infantry units with this, I think quite a few of them have it. They charge 6 inches instead of 4 when charging into contact, which is nice. In addition, Japanese infantry teams save on a 4+ in defensive fire. Okay, that's not great, but now we get to the good bit. And are never forced to fall back from defensive fire. However, they can still become pinned down. If so, they end their assault pinned down whenever they win or are forced to break off. But you can't choose to break off either, so pretty decent. They have a good terrain dash as well. Very good last stand. Like the British, they can night attack, but obviously your opponent needs to have minefields and need to be attacking. They have access to pioneer units, flamethrowers, they have amphibious tanks. They have the battle tank rule, so a lot of their armor is quite light, but it means you still need to put quite a bit of them in reserve if you have deep reserves. But a cool thing about their tanks, they have duty to the end. So basically, if they bailed out, they still fire their machine guns as defensive fire and stop an enemy unit winning an assault if they're within, counterattack range. A good thing as well, their artillery have fire bursts. So basically, a unit with fire bursts firing an artillery bombardment only re-rolls successful hit rolls if they only have 1 weapon firing, which is very good because a lot of the Japanese artillery units are in units of 2, which at first glance don't look very good. But if they have fire bursts, they become a lot better. Apart from if you lose one, of course they're going to be last standing, but interesting, and another ace up their sleeves. Okay, so the first formation is a tank formation, the Type 97, which is probably as good as it gets for the Japanese, really, and it's probably the only tanks I will get for them. But you can see the formation structure here. You have your mandatory HQ and 2 black box actions, and then you have another option for a third unit of 97s, and then you have basically tankette option for the fourth. So it's either a Type 97 or a Type 94. Okay, so this is the Type 97. As you can see, they can either have a 57mm or a 47mm, which has got a better anti-tank round. They come in units of 3, 4, or 5, and basically you can upgrade them to 47s for a point each, but not telling you the original points on the unit. They are aggressive. Their armor isn't great, especially in mid-war, since we'll see a little bit more, quite a lot more medium armor knocking about. They are fearless and trained, however, which isn't too bad. Speed-wise, they're not the fastest. They have a decent cross-check, though. Good on the machine guns, and of course, if you have the 47mm, they're anti-tank 8. So, kind of like Italian area armor and anti-tank, basically, with their armor. And as I said, these are the better ones. Okay, next up we have the Type 89, another tank company. So again, same as the previous one, you got your HQ and 2 mandatory 89s, another optional 89, and then you got your tankettes. Okay, so this is the Type 89. Remember that the previous tank as well also had the duty to the end rule, which we discussed at the beginning, so obviously they can still fire the defense fire even if bailed, which is quite nice. And you can see this one has got the battle tank rule, so obviously stops you having loads of them if you've got deep reserves and have defended. So like the other one, aggressive, fearless, trained, front armor 1, so getting a bit lighter on the armor, and the AT, so they're again the 57mm is anti-tank 5. Still plenty of machine guns, but this tank is a bit slower again. As can you imagine, it is a bit cheaper, and you can have a unit of 3, 4, or 5, HQ of 2, and I forgot to mention the HQ with the other one is also units of 2 as well, and you can upgrade them to 47s. And then last of the army tank formations, we have the Type 95 light tanks, and they are light. And basically, again, same thing with the other 3. You've got your HQ and 2 mandatory with an optional 3rd, and then some tankette recon tanks. Okay, so the Type 95, again, UTC end and battle tank, so aggressive, fearless, trained, very little armor, anti-tank of 6, so a bit better than the last ones. The HQ is a unit of 2, and then you can have a unit of 3, 4, or 5. So, you know, not too bad, but arguably a bit better than the last tanks we saw. And yeah, you will pay a little bit, actually about the same amount of points. Maybe it's because the cross-check is a little bit worse and that they are overworked as well. So if you're not familiar with overworked, if you move, it's +1 harder to hit. Okay, so we've got 2 recon tankette platoons. So the first one is a Type 97. So basically, you can have 3, 4, or 5 of them. Originally, they come with MGs. You have to pay points to give them a 37mm anti-tank gun. As you can see, again, they're aggressive, fearless, with a 4+ last stand, and are trained, and have a little bit more armor than the Type 95, so quite interesting there. Same armament as the Type 97, but less machine guns, and movement-wise, fairly similar, but the dash-in is a bit slower. But they do have Scout and Spearhead, which is pretty good. So Scout and Spearhead, Scout means if you move and you don't shoot, you can remain gone to ground, and Spearhead is you get your little move off from your deployment zone if you're able to do it. But seasoned people experienced with the rules of flames will understand what it is. Spearhead is quite a handy tool to have if you're attacking or maneuvering, sometimes defending. And here is the Type 94 tankette. So this one, you can't give it an anti-tank and it is stuck with its machine guns. Again, you got Scout and Spearhead and Duty to the End. It is aggressive, fearless with a 4+ last stand, and trained with not much armor, only machine guns, and fairly slow tank-wise. No, the tactical 10 isn't awful, but the cross-check is probably what's going to get us stuck more than anything. Right, this is when the Japanese start getting better. So we have an infantry company here. So you have a HQ, 3 platoons, obviously 2 of them are compulsory. You got your machine guns, and then you have your anti-tank and artillery platoons. Best thing is the artillery platoons are integrated into your formation and are pretty decent. So we will have a look at the actual unit. I won't bother looking at the machine guns because machine guns are machine guns and more or less the same in almost every faction. Okay, so this is the infantry platoon. So the HQ is a unit of 2. These guys have night attack, which is obviously mentioned on the HQ card. And of course, as you can see, they have the Banzai special rule. You can have a unit of 10 rifle teams with 3 50mm mortars, or a unit of 7 with 2. You can give them an extra mortar, an extra machine gun, and 1 anti-tank rifle. I'm not going to tell you what the points are. So you can see they're aggressive and you can see their save, and you've also got that defensive fire save there in case you accidentally forget while you're trying not to get your guys killed going into an assault. They're confident with a 3+ counterattack and a 3+ last stand. They are trained but have a 3+ assault rating. Please note they are slow firing, which means they get +1 harder to hit. The little mortars are quite handy because they have overhead fire, so pretty similar to the British 2-inch mortar, and an anti-tank rifle, which might come in handy, I reckon. Okay, so this is the in-formation anti-tank. So this is a rapid-fire gun platoon. So you can either have 2 47s or 2 37s. Personally, I'll probably take the 47s for the better anti-tank, being anti-tank 8 over 6. They don't have HE though, but they won't be firing at infantry, I don't think. Again, aggressive, confident with a 3+ last stand, trained with a 5+ assault, but have a 3+ gun save. Okay, and then here we have both in-house artillery. So basically, you can see at the top, you have your 70mm, and then at the bottom you have your 75mm. Both units of 2, but as you can see, they both have the fire burst special rule, which is pretty good. Both are aggressive, both are confident with a 3+ last stand, trained with a 5+ assault. Movement wise, obviously the 75 is a bit slower, being a bit heavier, and has a cross check to do. The 70mm obviously can fire artillery and smoke bombardment, which is quite tasty. 4+ firepower, and obviously can fire directly as well with measly anti-tank 4. Watch out, universal carriers, but can fire smoke direct as well. The 75 though packs a bit more of a punch with again 4+ firepower, but has an anti-tank of 6, and of course a little bit better range as well, but does not fire smoke. But it's the fire burst rule that makes them quite interesting, because being units of 2 puts them fairly cheap on the points wise, and of course they're aggressive as well. But this all stacks up really, and considering the 70mm can fire smoke bombardment, pretty decent, but they're only trained. Okay, so that's the army element done. So now we're going to the naval element with probably defense, the ugliest looking tank ever. But obviously is amphibious, so probably needs to look fairly weird to do what it needs to do. But we have the Type 2 naval tank. Basically a HQ, 2 compulsory black boxes, and an optional for a 3rd if you want it. I don't know if I'd want it, but there we go. So we'll have a little look at its stats. there we go. Here we go. We can have a nice little look at it. So the HQ is a unit of 2, and then you can have a unit of 3, 4, or 5. Aggressive, fearless, with a 2+ last stand, and trained. So obviously it's a tank unit, amphibious, duty to the end, and also has the battle tank rule. So not much armor. Movement wise, kind of average, with not a brilliant cross check on a 4+. It does have an anti-tank 7 gun, but it's overworked, and it has plenty of machine guns as well. And there you go, you have the naval tank here. It just basically looks like a small boat that they've stuck a turret to and tank tracks, but I guess that's really what they want. Okay, so we've had the good infantry, and now we have the even better infantry. So the Naval Infantry Company can have 4 platoons, have all those little anti-tanks and little artillery guns that we had in the infantry, as well as mortars, anti-aircraft, and big anti-aircraft. So this is where you actually have your good anti-tank gun in the Japanese list, and better infantry, which we'll have a look at now. Okay, so first off, these guys can also night attack if they so choose. HQ of 2, and then your infantry platoons come in unit of 10 rifles with 3 mortars, or 7 rifles and 2 mortars. You can add an additional mortar, or up to 2 HMGs, no anti-tank rifles, with these guys. They are aggressive, fearless, with a 2+ counterattack, and a 2+ last stand. They're trained with a 3+ assault. And of course, don't forget your Banzai defensive fire save. You won't make any friends if you forget that one. Again, slow firing with the rifles, basically the exact same stat line as the infantry, the army infantry. But their counterattack and last stand is a lot better. Okay, so I haven't included any of the other rapid fire stuff, because basically it's the same as the army, but apart from the last stand is better basically. But this is probably the one you'd want to see. So you've got the Naval 75mm anti-tank gun. Looks a bit like an 88, but you can have this as a unit of 4 or a unit of 2. They are aggressive, fearless, with a 2+ last stand, trained but with a 4+ save. Don't have a gun shield, so be careful with that, and are a large gun, so not the best for ambushes if you were in defense. But the main thing is what they do have is anti-tank of 10 with a 32-inch range and a 3+ firepower. So I think the best the Japanese have that's not a wild card, so I'll definitely be getting, I think they only sell them in boxes too, so I'll have to get 2 boxes of these, but you can also have these as support as well, so bear that in mind. Okay, so we're on to support now. So we have an engineer platoon, so basically a unit of 11 with 2 flamethrowers, a unit of 8 with 2 flamethrowers, or a unit of 5 with 2 flames. Aggressive, confident, 3+ counterattack, 3+ last stand, trained with a 3+ assault, but these guys of course have Pioneer, which is good to get through those minefields. And of course flamethrowers, who doesn't love flamethrowers? If you don't have to roll a firepower, it's always a good thing, especially if you're Jimmy. This is a scout platoon, so you can either have a unit of 4 or a unit of 3. And you can also add a mortar for +1. So aggressive, confident, with a 3+ counterattack, trained with a 3+ assault. So quite handy because these guys have got a scout and spearhead. So I think combined with what the rest of the infantry can do, are quite handy to have, I think. And yeah, I do quite like your infantry versions that can spearhead, which is quite handy if you're doing a night attack. Okay, bear in mind with the last 2, the engineers and the scouts, you can also have naval versions, which just have a little bit better stats. So I skipped out on the 75mm field artillery section because they're a bit similar to the ones we've already seen. But I've shown here in these 2, you have a 105mm field artillery, which is a unit of 2. Aggressive, confident, 3+ last stand, veteran though, so you'll actually be ranging in. but the main thing is these can also fire smoke, anti-tank 9 and anti-tank 3 on the direct on the artillery, and have a firepower of 3, which is pretty good. And my favorite is the observation post is infantry. I do like an infantry observer. I don't like armored infantry, armored observers. I just feel the infantry ones make more sense. I like the option for both. I think in version 2 you could give them a jeep or something like that, or a car. But I think that is it for the Japanese. Oh no, we got the 0 last. Okay, last for the Japanese we have the 0 fighter bomber. So it's hit on a 5 with a 3+ save, fearless. The best bit is it's veteran. It's got a 20mm gun, so basically with your 2 aircraft, 4 shots, anti-tank 5, 5+ firepower, and it also has some bombs with an anti-tank of 3 and a 2+ firepower. But being veteran makes it a lot easier to actually drop them where you need them to. And that is it for the Japanese. So next we're on to the Marines. Of course, there's more than just Marines in this section of the book. You do have the Army as well. I won't be covering the Army sections because the M3 Stuart Tank Company and Rifle Company is exactly the same as the Fighting First, which you should already have. If you don't, I'm really sorry I've not covered it, but this is already out there for, you know, people who are already playing the game. But what we really hear is for the Marine formation. So we have 3. We have some Shermans, Stuart, and a Marine Rifle Company. Support, got our 2 artillery support choices with, we can either have Marine or Army, your OP, some aircraft, anti-tank guns, and some recce and engineer units. Again, I wish I could see what the command cards are. And again, we have our wildcard sections. Okay, so first up we have our special rules. So basically, Gung Ho basically gives the Marines a better tactics rating, Semper Fi gives them better counterattack, determined troops with the army of a better rally rating, we got flamethrowers. We have some tanks have the ability to fire canister. It's interesting because we'll have a look at them later. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the canister. It's interesting. Obviously, it's just being what they had. But well, you'll see what I mean. Stabilizer is an American rule that we normally have. So basically, American tanks can keep their moving rate of fire, which is the same as their halted rate of fire, but they suffer a +1 penalty, obviously, from moving. And time on target is pretty good. So if an artillery unit has time on target and you range in on your first attempt, it counts as a repeat bombardment. So for everyone who knows what that is, it's pretty good. Okay, so first formation for the Americans is a Marine Rifle Company. So a HQ and 2 rifle platoons are compulsory, with an option of a 3rd with machine guns, mortars, 37mm anti-tank guns, a scout platoon, and a 75mm self-propelled gun. So again, not really going to look at machine guns and mortars because they're more or less all the same. Just have to kind of imagine the stats as of matching the rest of the units. Okay, so the infantry platoons, just to mention, the HQ is 2 SMG teams, if you would like to know that. So the Marine platoons can be a unit of 10 M1 Grand and Bar teams, or a unit of 7. They can have up to 2 M1919s, 1 bazooka, 1 M1917, 1 60mm mortar, and 1 flamethrower can be added in addition. So of course they have the observer rule like the Americans have, so the unit leader can spot for artillery, which is quite nice. These guys are careful, which is very good. They are fearless, which is very good, and counterattack on a 2+. They are trained and have a 3+ tactics. So in all, for mid-war American infantry, from what we're used to, very good. And yeah, and then you've just got the kind of regular rifle stats that you normally see. Don't suffer the slow firing that the Japanese have, because these are automatic rifles, or semi-automatic rifles. Sorry. Okay, so in terms of in-house anti-tank, they have a 37mm anti-tank gun, unit of 2, 3, or 4. It's anti-tank 7, so against what the Japanese have is, I don't know, alright, but against other mid-war forces, not so good. And you can see here the first instance of the canister shot. Very, very short range. Halted and moving of 6, but bear in mind if you're moving, it's +1 harder to hit. But a firepower of 6. Some tanks have this, which we will see. But again, these guys are careful, fearless, and trained. And these guys have a gun shield as well. But overall, against the Japanese will be more than enough. And you can see that defensive fire, they'll be even better. So although you can't stop the Japanese assaulting, you can kill them all. I suppose that is stopping them. Okay, and these are the last 2 units in the formation. So we have a scout platoon, which is basically unit 4 rifle teams, scout and spearhead, which is quite handy for infantry, careful, fearless with a 2+ counterattack, 4+ last stand because they're scout, but still trained, and a 3+ tactics rating, which is quite good. And then we have some in-house artillery, not anti-tank, sorry, but you can only have a unit of 2. They're careful, fearless, and trained. Not much in terms of armor, but they do have an anti-tank of 9 with a 3+ firepower. And they also have 50 cals and machine gun as well. So will be handy backing up your infantry against Japanese infantry. Only 2 of them, so not the best, but you kind of need the anti-tank 9, especially if you're going against other mid-war armies other than Japanese. But anti-tank 9 is going to be very punchy against these light Japanese tanks. Okay, so now we have an M3 Stuart Tank Company. So it's strange, most American tank companies that we're all used to have a lot more in the formation structure than this. Because we've just got the HQ, 2 mandatory platoons, and an extra one. Normally we would see a bit of recon and artillery, but of course you can only put so much on a boat. And this is the Marine M3 Stuart Tank Company. Okay, so the HQ can be a unit of 3, 2, or 1, and the platoons are in 3, 4s, or 5s. So these guys are aggressive, which is already better than the army versions, which are reckless in fighting first. They are fearless, which is nice, and are trained, which is again better than the fighting first ones. Now, anti-tank 7 will be pretty good against the Japanese armor, and as you can see here, the canister shots, which is fairly interesting. So if stationary, they are better than the machine guns, but if not stationary, the machine gun still has 5 shots over 6, but it's +1 harder to hit with the canister. So an interesting choice there. Okay, and then the last formation we'll be looking at with the Americans is the Marine M4 Sherman Tank Company. So like the Stuarts, just 4 options, HQ, 2 platoons, mandatory, and then your extra 3rd. Okay, so the Marine Sherman, so HQ is a unit of 1 or 2, and then the platoons are units of 3s or 4s. So aggressive, fearless, green, but with a 4+ assault. This is the armor, front 6, side 4, so this is going to be a struggle for the Japanese tanks to deal with, and it's just going to punch through these guys. 80-10, and of course it's got its machine guns and 50 cals. Bear in mind the Sherman has stabilizers, and if you notice with the Stuart, it didn't have stabilizers, which is quite interesting. I guess that's because they've got canister, or I don't know, maybe they tweaked something. Obviously a lot more people clued up on Pacific War history than me. Maybe you guys can answer that. Okay, so next we have the divisional recon platoon. So basically fairly similar to the Marine Recce unit, but you can have a unit of 5 or 7. And then you have the Marine Engineer Assault Section, which is quite good. A unit of 4 with 3 flamethrowers, or a unit of 3 with 2. And of course, we mentioned flamethrowers are great. Careful, fearless with a 2+ counterattack, so basically the same as the Marines, but these guys have got Pioneer as well, so it'll get you over your minefield a bit better. Here we have a naval construction platoon, so a unit of 7 Springfield rifle teams, or a unit of 5. Aggressive, confident, trained, but with a 3+ dig in. They also have the Pioneer rule, and because they got bolt action rifles, they are slow firing, so an interesting addition to this book. So still on support, and we did mention we're going to support, so we got 75mm artillery, unit 4, unit 2, so basically pack howitzers, careful, confident, but with 3+ skill and time on target. The only thing that will let these guys down is their artillery firepower, and of course direct their anti-tank sinks, but against Japanese armor isn't that bad, and these guys will also fire a smoke barrage as well. Okay, so now some bigger artillery, 105s, which we've seen before. The main thing is they're veteran and have time on target. And of course, we've got a Marine OP as well. I'm just adding the OP onto every one of these artilleries because I just like the infantry observers. And that's it for the Marines. Just a quick mention on the Army element. So your rifle company, you guys are aggressive, confident, have a 3+ rally, but are green. As I said, more or less the same as the fighting first. The Stuarts are reckless, confident, green, and that's it, basically. Oh, there's one other thing that we will look at with the Americans. I just thought I'd add it because it's a bit fun. So this is in the Army section. So this is a dismounted cavalry recon platoon. So we're going to see a unit of 2 carbine teams with an LMG and a 60mm mortar, so very light, only 4 infantry teams. Aggressive, confident, with a 5+ last stand, are green, but they do have scout and spearhead, and do provide you with a template as well. So quite interesting. Bear in mind the M1 carbines only have a 12-inch range, not 16. Okay, so this is the British and Indian force. Bear in mind there's another Commonwealth force coming up a bit later. So 2 infantry formations, we have a rifle company and an Indian rifle company, and then armoured formations, Honeys, which are Stuarts, and Grant/Lee armoured squadrons. With the British, like we have, similarly, we have 3 artillery units that you can have. Anyone will have support, 2 units of Valentines, 6-pounders, Hurricane fighter bombers, and then a few recce scout car formations we have. And again, wildcards, but we're not going to go into that. Okay, so special rules. So basically, secondary weapon applies to the 37mm on the Grant/Lee, which we'll talk about. Well, we might talk about when we get to them. Mic target means if anyone ever remembers to use it, if your spotting team successfully ranges in, basically they immediately roll to range in another unit. If successful, the second artillery unit is treated as ranging in on the first, as the first. Infantry of the Bulldog special rules. So Army guys with this rule have a better counterattack rating. Units with Deadly have a better assault rating, and the Indians also have Warcry. So enemy units must reroll their first successful motivation to test to counterattack unit with Warcry. So we have seen this before with the command card with British infantry in the Fighting Fist book. Apologies if I said fist instead of first for the American books. They're very similar, and it's been a long day. Okay, so first up we have a rifle company. So a HQ, 2 compulsory platoons, an optional 3rd, mortars, Vickers machine guns, 2-pounders or 6-pounders. Nice to see some 2-pounders before early war turns up, and 4 lots of universal carriers like you can have, which are going to be quite decent against all this marauding Japanese infantry that we have roaming about. Okay, so rifle company. So these guys do not night attack. The HQ is 2 rifle teams, and And then the rifle platoons themselves is a unit of 7 or a unit of 5. You can add a boys anti-tank rifle or a 2-inch mortar as well. Now they are aggressive, confident with a 3+ counterattack, green with a 4+ assault. No doubt we'll have a few command cards that may add flavour to this. Not the best we've ever seen British, especially in mid-war. These are very akin to the white knees cards that we have in mid-war. But they do counterattack on a 3 and assault on a 4. But getting them to do anything other than that is going to be quite tricky. And the boys anti-tank rifle against the Japanese tanks might actually be quite useful now. Okay, so we are going to have a little look at the 2-pounder. So again, we'll probably see this a lot more in early war. We don't see them so much. Well, we actually don't see them in mid-war unless they're on a Crusader or a Valentine. So anti-tank 7, which obviously in this theatre is actually quite good. And like with the infantry, they are aggressive, confident, and green. And there's no mention of forward firing in this because you can see in the picture it looks like it is on some sort of turn table. Oh, it is on the turntable. I can see features of it. And that's that, so quite interesting. And no HE. Okay, and now we have the 6-pounder, of course, much better anti-tank. It's probably what you'll take if you're playing stuff that isn't Japanese, although if you really want to cut through those Japanese tanks, take some 6-pounders. I don't know if I mentioned with the 2-pounders, you can have a unit of 4, 3, or 2, and with the 6-pounders, a unit of 6, 4, or 2. So a unit of 6. You could potentially put in ambush against these Japanese tank is pretty nice. The only problem is that 4+ firepower. I thought I'd put in the universal carrier. We've seen them all over the place before. We've never seen them aggressive before. They can have the optional of having a boys anti-tank rifle, and they're in units of 3. So aggressive, confident, 6+ counterattack, last stand 5, and are green. But overall, these things are going to be quite handy, I think, of repulsing Japanese banzai charges, I think, if they get into a decent position. But bear in mind, there should be quite a lot of low Japanese anti-tank that will be able to deal with these as well. But the main thing they do bring is they bring the spearhead element and also have scout. Okay, so now we have the Indian Rifle Company. So pretty much organization-wise is the same as the other rifle company, apart from you have an option of 3 Indian pattern carrier patrols instead of universal carriers, which we will see are very, very similar. But let's have a little look at these guys' stats. Okay, so the HQ has 2 rifle teams. These guys can also not night attack. But you can see here they have the war cry special, so try and remember that one. So you can have a unit of 7 or a unit of 5, and again a boys anti-tank rifle and a 2-inch mortar. So again, aggressive. These guys are fearless, green, and have a 4+ assault. Again, we most likely will see command cards that will change that up. Okay, so skipping through all the other ones because they basically follow suit with the rest of the force, apart from they don't have the war cry thing. But here we have the Indian pattern carrier patrol, which is more or less is the same as a universal carrier but with wheels. It has the same unit of 3, can have anti-tank rifle, but of course it being wheels, it is a slower terrain and cross-country dash, but it has a much better road dash, and it's an interesting little thing. It kind of looks like a dingo scout car sort of, but interesting thing to add. I suppose you have your option of, do you want your scout unit with tracks or wheels? I suppose you can mix and match. It's up to you. Okay, so the first tanks for the British here, basically heavy armoured squadron, so a bit bigger than the American one, so the HQ, and then 2 compulsory units of honeys, and then 2 more units of honeys if you want, but no option of adding anything other than honey stewards. Okay, so the honey, and on first glance the things that are different to the honeys we see with the British in the other mid-war book. So the HQ is a unit of 3 or 4, and then the platoons are units of 3. So first of all, they're careful. You can make them careful with the other book, but it's an upgrade card. They're confident, which is again different, and they are trained, just trained, which is different again. But the main thing I've noticed is the 37mm is overworked, which is not the case with the other book. And the HQ is the same as well, so that is interesting. Of course, we mentioned overworked before, but the Honey Stewart is going to be more than capable against the Japanese tanks, but maybe, again, as I mentioned, not other mid-war forces. Okay, something again which is quite nice. So the Grant/Lee Armoured Squadron here is again different with the other mid-war British book, because you can have the HQ with 2 platoons and another 2 platoons. Can normally only have the 1 extra, but you do get to have either Honeys or Crusaders with the other book. But these Grant/Lees, I would argue, are slightly better. Only slightly, but we'll see why. Okay, so they are careful, confident with a 3+ remount, which is different to the other British who have a 5+ last stand, and they are trained. Of course, the best thing with the Lee, it has 2 main guns. Well, it has a big gun and another gun, and this is where that secondary weapon rule comes in, which basically, if you fire in the main gun, if you fire this one as well, it is +1 harder to hit with it. But overall, this is an improvement on the Grant/Lee that you get with the Armoured Fist. Okay, then we have our 25-pounders, which are cheaper because they are only trained, which is a fair bit different to all the other 25-pounders we have. So it does save you a few points. Careful, confident, trained. They also have that Mike target rule as well, a 4+ save, anti-tank 9, which is pretty decent for an artillery piece with a 3+ firepower, so it's kind of that dual purpose role of anti-tank and artillery, and also provide you with that smoke barrage. And again, I'm showing you an infantry observer again. And one more thing for this section of the book, which is going to be a scout car. Okay, and this scout car is a Marmon Harrington armoured car, so it is basically 3 armoured cars with Boys anti-tank rifles. They also have machine guns as well, so they are aggressive. They do have scout and spearhead, which is handy, confident, with a 6 counter-attack last stand, green, kind of what you expect for scout cars, and being wheels, they're quite slow as well. Also, the British can have Valentines, as mentioned previously. Only the Valentine 3, though, with a 2-pounder. Obviously, the armour being 6, being careful, confident, trained, being okay. They can have their little Hurricanes and some light AA troops as well. So now we're going over to the Australian section. Okay, here we have the Australian force. So we have 3 infantry formations, a rifle company, a militia rifle company, and a commando independent company. 3 armoured formations, Grants, Stuarts, and Sentinels, which are more kind of theoretical thing. I don't know whether I could bring myself to get them if I was to, but I don't think they saw much service. I think they got discontinued since the Austrians were given lots of grants. Again, 3 units of 25-pounders, universal carriers, Kitty Hawks this time instead of Hurricanes, and wildcards, which we will not mention. Okay, Austrian special rules. So Mike target as before. Again, these guys have canister like the Americans have. They have the deadly rule, so deadly troops have a better assault rating. These guys are also determined, so have a better rally rating. The commandos have mountaineers, and we also have flamethrowers as well. Mountaineers is a rule that very, very, very rarely you will ever use, and if you do, and you actually have the units to do it, I salute you. Okay, first formation is a rifle company, so similar to what we saw before with the other British ones, apart from we have an extra Vickers MMG, only 2-pounders, no 6-pounders this time. 4 units of universal carriers, with one of them being able to be a dismounted carrier platoon. Okay, so the rifle platoon, just to mention again, no night attack. HQ is 2 rifle teams. So again, the rifle platoon is a unit of 7, a unit of 5, with a boys anti-tank or a 2-inch mortar. They're careful, which is good. They're confident, which is good. They have a 3+ rally, which is very good, and they are veteran British infantry, which aren't commandos, which is brilliant, and they hit on 2s. Very good. Very good Battlefront. I like these. I might end up using my British mid-war infantry as proxies for these guys, but I am very happy with these Australian infantry. And the price-wise, they're not too bad either. I mean, the only letdown is the fact that they've only got 2-pounders, which is a unit of 4, 3, or 2. But you can see they follow the other stats as well. You got your universal carriers again, a unit of 3 with boys anti-tank rifles. But the interesting one that we haven't seen before is the dismounted carrier platoon. So a unit of 9, 7, or 5, and they can replace one Bren gun team with a boys anti-tank rifle, just the one. So careful, confident, 5+ last tank because they're scout and a 3+ rally. Veteran, but with a 4+ assault because they're scout units. But they've got scout and spearhead, which is always handy with infantry. And because they're Bren gun teams, basically they're like motor infantry, but with a halted rate of fire of 3 and a movement of 2. And bear in mind, you can have 9 of these guys as well. It's just their assault rating that lets them down, but they're still veteran, so it's pretty good. And they've got scout. Okay, so now we have some militia battalions, which is the same loadout as your regular rifle company we just saw, apart from we haven't got our lovely dismounted unit to go along with them. Okay, so the HQ is 2 teams, no night attack again, folks, and then we have the militia rifle platoon. So 7 teams or 5 teams again with boys or 2-inch mortar. These guys are aggressive. They are confident with a 3+ rally. They are trained and have a 3+ assault. So it's basically your choice of, do you want careful infantry or aggressive infantry? Because that's really the only difference between the militia and the regular guys. And of course, you don't get your dismounted unit as well. Another infantry company, we have a commando independent companies, which consists of a lot of commando sections. And just that, yeah, there's nothing else other than commandos here. So you can have a HQ with 2 commando sections, and then you can add an additional 6, and then a commando scout section. So if you like running just infantry, well, this independent company is the one for you. Okay, so it's just 1 team for the HQ. These guys have mountaineers and don't night attack. The commando sections themselves are a unit of 5. You can add a boys anti-tank rifle, you can add a 2-inch mortar, you can replace up to 2 Bren gun and rifle teams with SMG teams, and you can replace a Bren gun team with a flamethrower. So these are small units of 5, but they are careful, they are fearless, they are veteran, and will be killing people on 2s. So when I use them, they'll either just die or I'll roll 1s in assault. But these guys do get the option of having SMGs, which is handy, and flamethrowers, which is even handier. And finally, for the commandos, which since they don't have anything else, we have the scout section, which again is a unit of 5, but this time you can have a unit of 3, and you can place up to 2 of them with SMGs, but that is it. But these ones, the only difference with them, they have scout and spearhead, and they have a 4+ last stand because they're a scout unit, but they retain the deadly thing, which is pretty good. Okay, so we are back on to some grants, and again, this is just like fighting Fist all over again, but we only have the option of having Stuarts. I guess all the Crusaders are stuck in the desert, but I do quite like the grants, and again, you'll see that they are slightly better than the Armoured Fist ones again, which you will notice straight away. So like before, you'd see careful, confident, 3+ remount, and trained. The only limitation they have is you'll have 3 less grants in your formation because you can only because there's only 4 slots in the formation, that's all. But you can have honeys with them, which is, I don't know, quite fun, I suppose. And the difference with the Stuarts this time is we have the option to have grants in them. And if you want to take a picture of the Stuart card itself, it's the same as the previous one, apart from they can fire canister, which is exactly like the other Stuarts that the Americans have. So it's a range of 8 with a halted and moving rate of fire of 6, with a 6+ firepower, and has the canister special rule. Right then, folks, this is where I want the history buffs. So the Sentinel Armored Squadron, right, stat-wise, absolutely love them, which we will have a look at. But did they actually get used? Because for me, that's like quite a big stipulation for whether I get them or not, because I won't feel right, because they are pretty good. So we have a HQ section, and then 2 compulsory and a 3rd optional, where you can either have a Sentinel 2-pound or Sentinel 6-pounders, which we'll have a look at now. Okay, so this is the Sentinel 2-pounder. So first up, the HQ is a unit of 3 or a unit of 2, all 2-pounders, and the troops are units of 3. Careful, confident, train, pretty good. Armor of 6, loving it. And bear in mind, this is the same as the 6-pounder, which we'll go at now. After. It only has a 2-pounder, which obviously is, in terms of mid-war, isn't brilliant, but good against the Japanese. Movement wise, pretty decent, and has a 3+ cross check as well. Okay, and now this is the better bit. So with these, you can have a unit of 3 6-pounders or a unit of 2 6-pounders and 1 25-pounder, which is better because the firepower is better, but it is a bit shorter range. But as you can see, this is why I like the look of this a lot. The problem is, did it get used? If it didn't, I probably wouldn't use it. And probably what you will see is what we've seen with the mid-war monsters, is if it probably wasn't used, it probably won't be allowed in tournaments. But it would be very, very fun to use. And this is the last thing we will look at. It is the 25-pounder field troop, which is different from the other one we looked at, because again, they are back to being veteran. Again, we have an observation post. Now, and that is it. So what do I think of the book? I'm very, very, very annoyed with it, because now I want to get stuff. I wasn't planning on, but I want to get stuff. I'll be getting Japanese, because the way the defensive fire is completely changed by them. I think it's going to be very fun and irritating. I don't think I'll win many games with them. If I don't win, I probably bank on drawing. But it'd be very interesting. We definitely playing on a difficult setting, with the lack of anti-tank and heavy or even medium armor. Australians I very like, just for their stat line, but basically I have the tanks just painted desert colour, but I suppose I can use them anyway. Lack of 6-pounders is a bit irritating, but we do have 2-pounders, I suppose, to play in a little bit harder mode again. But I'm very interested to see what command cards come out, because they will be very interesting as well. But what are your thoughts on the book? Are you going to be getting anything? Are you looking to forward to dusting off your version 3, version 2, version 1 models, whatever era they came out in? No doubt they are beautifully metal, and will be nice on the table. I'm not sure what material these ones are going to be made out of, but looking forward to seeing them and seeing how they play in a tournament. But I hope you enjoyed. Remember, any questions, just pop them below, and remember, you can pre-order them at Firestorm. Don't buy up all the stock though, because I would like to buy some stuff myself. And that is it for me at Value Gaming. And again, hope you enjoyed, and hope you found this informative. And sorry I couldn't show you the points, but you don't have too much longer to wait.